Welcome to Family Basics 101. I'm Dr. Bruce McClure, the local minister at the Prince George's Church of Christ, located at 7800 Central Avenue in Landover, Maryland. Throughout the week, we've looked at the simple topic about people. Today, even more simplified, people are just people. For the most part, we divide people into four basic categories based on personality types. But of those four groups, those four divisions, you can, for the most part, fit every individual in the entire world because people are just people. When we look at group number one, we're looking at people who are very creative and are great entertainers and will do well in entertainment related operations. They just kind of are entertainment type people. Uh, these individuals tend to be very lively, optimistic, and somewhat carefree. Their love for adventure may cause them to appear as high risk individuals. These individuals do not tolerate boredom very well. At the top end of that are people like Evil Knievel, but most people are not that over the top. What are some of the natural abilities of individuals in this first group? If those abilities are developed properly and supported properly, marketing, travel, fashion, cooking, sports, uh, that you notice in each of those arenas, uh, it's sort of free spirited, and individuals within that realm of group one, because of their creativity, uh, they are what you would call free spirits. Here's a second group. Group two are individuals seeking interpersonal harmony and close relationships, making them pretty loyal as spouses and loving parents. The individuals in this group focus on maintaining relationships with old friends, distant family, and even neighbors. This group hopes to avoid conflict. That's their hope, is to avoid conflict. And with that avoidance of conflict, uh, they 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 almost at any cost will try to mediate between others to restore peace and keep harmony. This group enjoys participating in charitable events and helping others. Well, what are some of the natural abilities if developed properly? Nursing, teaching, psychology, counseling, child development, social services. Again, in group two, the people are kind of like the Rodney King, can we just all get along type thinking. Here's group three. These are individuals that are mostly goal oriented. They're seen as savvy, analytical, and logical. Now, this group tends to be extremely practical and very straightforward. They're not normally the best companions and aren't known for being very friendly. It's just sort of as a matter of fact. This group of individuals don't like small talk and only seem engaged in their understanding of a meaningful conversation. Now, a meaningful conversation to them typically is not what's a conversation to the majority of other people. The individuals in this group prefers to be alone and not in the company of shallow, superficial people. Uh, the preference of individuals in this group is to spend time with others in similar professional arenas. Uh, Natural abilities, if developed properly, supports management, technology, statistics, engineering, programming. It's strictly business. Um, these type individuals are not seen as fun people. And they really are not impressed very much by fun people. But people are still people. Now, there's one more group. And remember, we can divide basically everybody in the world into one of these four groups. But look at group number 4. These are individuals that embrace traditions. Uh, they eat at the same restaurants. They eat the same food at the same restaurants. They eat at the same time at the same restaurants. Uh, Everything is highly predictable because they embrace traditions. The individual in this group love family and friends and do not look for novelty and adventure, and they avoid both as much as possible. No, this is what I like. This is the way I do it. This is where I always go. The individuals within this group are very social and seek to contribute to the community at large, but they're going to do it the same way. Uh, if you have a potluck, well, they're going to bring the same thing every time. They're going to sit in the same place. They're going to congregate with the same people. Uh, Everything is highly predictable. These individuals pride being extremely thorough and accurate before taking any actions and make great managers, provided they have a good personality. Uh, Not highly sociable, not very empathetic. At least you don't see it. Um, so people will see them as being a little bit eccentric. The natural abilities, if developed properly, it supports management, accounting, social work, administration. But keep in mind, group 4 embraces this is the way it has always been done. This is the way it should still be done. And I can't understand for the life of me why you would add anything to it, why you would subtract anything away from it. This is the ritual. Not bad people. As a matter of fact, none of the 4 groups are bad groups because every person, for the most part, in the whole world will fit into one of those 4 categories, including you and me. Now, let me share with you what some people will say is a biblical principle behind this. So when we look at this sanguine, the phlegmatic, the melancholy, or the choleric, uh, those labels of the 4 groups are as old as time. But some will say that is based on Proverbs chapter 30, verses 11 through 14. Quite interesting what these verses have to say. There is a generation that curses its father and does not bless its mother. There is a generation that is pure in its own eyes, yet is not washed from its own filthiness. There is a generation, oh, how lofty are their eyes, and their eyelids are lifted up. And then this 4th one, There is a generation whose teeth are like swords and whose fangs are like knives to devour the poor from off the earth and the needy from among men. No empathy, very little emotion, strictly business. Uh, but when you look at the four groups, this is what you will probably see, and it may not be comfortable. You either fit somehow, some way in group number one or group number two or group number three or group number four. We all do. I'm not telling you mine because you're probably saying, I think I know what it is. And that's interesting. When people are around us enough, they can pretty much identify which group others belong to. Because many times in ourselves, we don't see what other people see in terms of our temperament, how we behave, how we respond to others. But because others are observing us like a fine piece of art. Uh, we had a gentleman at the congregation years and years ago that was actually an art professor. Uh, he left the DC area and he went down to Louisiana and he taught art at Grambling University. Ricky Calloway, I'll always remember Ricky, uh, originally from Alabama, Opelika, Alabama, where I used to preach. But one of the things about art, before you examine it up close, what Ricky said is, your first view of art is at a distance. You stand back because standing back, you get to observe things that you don't see up close. And then you move in closer and closer as if to fine tune what you're seeing. And that's how people observe each of us at a distance. And the closer they get to us, they began to see the nuances of who we really are. People are people. We can categorically deny that this is who I am, but either I'm going to fit in category 4, category 3, category 2, or category 1. And that's going to be true of all of us, God's people or not, because we are all people. I will not be presenting the lesson on tomorrow, but I do invite you to join us on Sunday morning for Bible study at 9 o'clock a.m. Again, Sunday morning at 10 o'clock for our morning worship. And we look forward to seeing you back in class again on Monday for our upcoming week's version of Family Basics 101. Don't be late and don't skip